Hello, and welcome to the 25th episode, Composing from Scratch. We're doing our writer's log for the day. And let's go ahead, without further ado, jump into the project. Here we are. So we can go ahead and listen to where we left off yesterday. We had got the structure all the way through, and today we're looking at maybe making some markers, kind of give it like a better generalized sense of this is what's happening here, here, here. Obviously, we kind of can hear it, but just the visual will help for building elements. Also, you're going to look at some synth layering and other instrument layering that we can add for the main melody part that comes in. Well, we'll just take it from the top. Make sure everything's running. Looks good. And welcome back if you've been watching the series. Increase the reverb and lower the volume. I just want that to be a little bit further in the background. It's hard for it to compete when everything's going, but it's standing out a little too much when it's alone. I feel like something's hitting just a little funny there, or something we can maybe improve. Clearly we need a bigger ending there. But let's go ahead and look at that part. I think this is the one with the motion that we're looking for. I had an idea, but it came and went. I was thinking of another descending step in one of those parts, but I'm not seeing where it would make sense. think that's going to help with some of the balance. Easy. I'm liking that a little better. Let's go ahead and just quickly put together our markers here. So we'll go intro. So we'll call this the intro. I'm thinking this will be the verse, or maybe this. I think this is leading into, so we'll call this and for lack of a better term, we're going to call this drop 1 because we're really building this to be this is like a ramp up and then a drop off, a ramp up and then a hard drop off, a ramp up and then a drop off, and then one big ramp up to the end. That's what we're shooting for here. So each verse will kind of have a drop that goes with it, essentially. So I'm call this the chorus. The chorus. Don't bore us, get to the chorus. We're kind of breaking the rule on this one. We're going 42. Generally, you want to get to that in 30 seconds. We were originally going to have a little lead in from like the melody, so we still might do that, and that would be kind of like giving it that. So it would be like the intro goes into the first like big part, drops off, and then we go into the chorus, and then or into the next big part, drops off. But we're gonna go ahead and call this chorus. We'll call this drop 2. And it lingers with that snare drum. You have that little texture come in. And I would say this would be our second verse. Theoretically, we could call this a bridge even. It doesn't really matter how we do it. I was considering doing this as like a pre-chorus, but I don't know if it really does that again per se. This would be kind of the pre-chorus of that area. This is what you're left with is the cellos, wood block, and the sidechain for the drone. Just keep it like this. think we're going to keep them more unique by doing drop. But I think it's fair to call this little thing a bridge. It's kind of like a remorseful little note that comes in, and then I would say when we get to like right here, we would call this a short verse. Sure, let's call this a verse 3. And part of that. And then we have what we'll call a double chorus. Go ahead, go into here. This one will be 10. We'll call this outro or stinger. It's really more of a stinger. And then we have this go until right here. And this would be the end per se. I don't think we're going to write that in. We'll just leave that be. So, now we got that business attended to. Let's do something a little more fun. Let's go ahead and start inserting some new tracks. And I think we'll go to the FM8. Let's try out some brass. Let's just see what they got. Well, let me leave it over here so I can arm it. All right. So as you can see, this is definitely a synth doing this. Okie dokie then. Let's jump out and add this in. Okay. Wow, we are doing some crazy stuff to this thing, huh? I'm not hearing anything crazy with that. I'm not messing with that. Alright. I hear a lot of really deep bass that we really don't need in this. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that high pass on there. So let's try this out for... And we're just kind of going the other direction. We're just kind of spreading these guys out. I might change the panning. So in my mind, this is what I'm thinking. If we're going small scale, like we're doing like a few instruments, I would want to pan them so they all kind of have their own little space. If we're doing a lot of instruments, I want each voice to kind of be more tuned into different parts of the stereo field. So right now we're looking still at a small setup, so I'm balancing it. I'm going, okay, we have trumpets on this side, let me put these ones on this side. But that's kind of the way we're working with this. So if I end up putting a lot of layers, and we talked about woodwind and stuff like that, if there's a lot of layers, I might just go back through and kind of adjust, like closer to like where things fire off, like in the template, or in like an actual chamber orchestra kind of setup. So let's leave that for now, and we're gonna go ahead and add another right here, and I think we're gonna take the same plugin because we're kind of going for this sort of sound here. Well, heck, let me see if we can't find it. Tell me I haven't used this one in a minute, right? Alright, so we're going brass, trumpet, 2 trumpets. Now let's see what we're working with over here. Almost like an accordion to me. I probably could have used the shelving EQ right on there as well. Well, not a huge deal. That is so squeaky. I just want to try it like this. I think those sound a little better for their respective range. And this will be Sin Trumpet 1. I think that started giving a little bit more power. Now, what if we isolated them? And that's how we jump to the second part of the verse. All right, I'm thinking that's working for us. What I am considering is, what if we bring these down significantly? I don't know why I grabbed the cello there. I'm trying to think what would be a good complement to add to the trombones. And my thought, maybe this is wildly off, is a bassoon. So let's see, because I feel like the tuba is gonna be better for like that bump 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 bump, and I want something that's in that range, but will give a different like texture to it. And so that's why I'm thinking that. And we could jump right to our BBC Symphony Orchestra. We could do that, but that wasn't working for the other instruments, so I'm gonna try Contact, and we're gonna see if we can't find something that will make it work. That's the Contact one. Woodwind ensemble. Okay. And I don't think we're going to be using the vintage organ one. But this one, and this one are all on the table. I think this is a solo one. Let's go with the section. So this is multiple. And let's go ahead, take it over here. And we'll copy, let's say, the bass trombone. I'm just playing with the mod wheel here, trying to get it to fit. Needs to be fast, even with the staccato. this part. I feel like it stands out much more on its own when it's on the other side. Okay, so we're getting a couple new instruments in here. We're backing up the trumpet decently well. We gave a little something to the trombone. I'm thinking like the other orchestral woodwinds are going to be more supporting that cello. This just for strings. Maybe I'll have like some flute in there or something. Probably one time. So now we come to another point too, where we talked about taking apart the string drone. Now, do we want to take it apart or just treat this like its own thing? I feel like if we're gonna treat this like its own thing, then it has to be a little further away from what the strings sound like, because I would like to use violin, but I don't want it to interfere. But it's kind of neat to have the violins just pedaling the whole time. Well, let's get to work. Let's add some knot strings and see where we land with this. Do you know the brass I should add earlier or later? Saxophone would be fun. That would have been a good add to that line. You know, maybe I'll grab a baritone sax. That'll be our tenor trombone. Alright, not mad at that. That works for me. Let's go ahead and put it in with this. So let's listen to what this part is looking like it's going to be now. So our most synth element, and we'll go ahead and put the sax. So we added this to support the trumpets. And I feel like it added a ton. I feel like it gives it a lot more like roughage, like it gives it a lot more beef. And a little more power to push. And that's why when we first introduced it, we brought down the dynamics. We wanted it to not be supported as hard, but still have something there. Like if you look at the volume difference, like watch the synth trumpet 1 and 2. Let me just go trum. No, it doesn't really matter, but it just makes it so you can see it easier. I mean, maybe you can't even on there, but so. Let's watch the volume on these for the first part and then the second part. So like I said, in like 19.9, and then we're going to the second part. We're looking at like 2 decibels higher. So that is where we are with that. Adjust it down just a little bit more. Let's go ahead over here. I'm trying to think of what we'd want next. I was thinking clarinet. Oboes would be a good one. Let's go with clarinet's essential. Now, it worked well on the last one. And what part do we want to mimic? It's up to say. Let's do the main trumpet part. these aren't firing off correctly, so let's bring them down, bring them up. There we go. You know, I think these are not doing us a favor. All right. It's not really doing anything spectacular. At least at that range. Let's bring it up an octave. Brass to that side. Then we'll move these to the other. But you know what? We will lose balance with that. So let me go back. Well, I guess not that far back. Ah, I see. Something that would be helpful too is going in and working on some harmonies for this. Because I think maybe 3 harmonies, when I split them between them, would also make a big difference. And I can see that being like the trumpets doing octaves, the tenor trombone and the baritone sax doing something that gives it some lower context, and then like the clarinets, a piccolo, and a flute doing like a third part, something that's over the top that or over the original chord, and so something that would just give it a little bit more complexity to the lead, and that could be something that's expounded right here and then expounded here. I'm not sure how I want this all to drop in. Maybe I could take these off for the moment. I could have them come in later. I don't know. I don't know if I want to sacrifice anything yet. Fighting this weird block. Let's just see. Stuck right now between would I rather do an oboe or that other saxophone, like a tenor sax. I feel like the tenor sax is gonna have more power on it, so I think we're gonna stick to that. Or maybe it's the alto. Oh, interesting. So sessions for pro. Okay. Let's run the alto from Session Horns Pro. Right. And bring this down. You can get rid of keystrokes. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that might be a little low. Okay. Of course, this is a compression that I'm not touching. I would like to affect the actual. I'm just not seeing. You know, it's just hitting a little funny, so I think we're gonna jump out of there. And let's go saxophones essential or saxophone essential. Man, that is a big room. Let's try this one out. Still is a pretty big room for this. Man, is Contact gonna be the hero of this? Alright, let's see what you got. And let's just listen to all the horns just to see how balanced it is. Of course, we'll bring these back. Feeling nice, a little more balanced. And we can go
probably should have just glued them so I can do it all at once. Let me just do that. So I don't have to go into each individual item. We can just go knock all those out. Take this. Hard. So let's listen from the top. Kind of controversial move, but I'm dropping the string drone down just a little bit. That way, the texture stands out a little more, and it's not as present. Let's just take all of these, bring them down. I think this is the loudest, so if we zero this one out, I think the rest will be played. We're still peaking pretty hard. Okay. I think we've made a good way. Where are we at? We're at like 54 minutes. Alright. That sounds about on par. We've made pretty decent progress with adding layers for that lead, but we really haven't done a lot to support that bump 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 bump. And we still have some necessity to add. So like I said, like a tuba would be helpful there, a double bass, just real low staccato, bum 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 bum. It's no rocket science. It's really just to keep that pulse going as hard as we can. And I would like to add a flute and piccolo, maybe. I have a fun time writing with those. I think that would be helpful, especially. So the way I'm kind of imagining this structure is we have it come in and it's just about the string drone and that texture, and we're given the idea that, hey, these cellos are driving the bus. So the cellos are bum 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 bum. The cellos are going, and then we get into this percussive section. So the percussion comes in, and this is that verse 1 now. So now the percussion's playing. We're getting a sense of like the pulse of this thing. And we have our lead come in the weakest way, but it's presenting, hey, here's our idea. And that's why I think harmonies are going to be really important, because we can have this expanded and then expanded further, and the harmonies would come out as they go. I think that would be a really useful tool, just to keep gathering interest whenever this part comes in. So that's kind of what we're looking at for here, is like now we're taking it a step up, we're going pretty hard, and then this drop is just about that snare just kind of doing its thing, and then that drone and the texture, and it's really about that texture here. This is like one of the only times we're letting that stand on its own with that texture coming more out than it is in the intro. In the intro, it does like come just a little bit out. So we have it right there. So this one, it's no cello, it's just on its own. So that is the start of that moment. And then we're going into our second verse with a little bit of a variation on the cello part. So now we have a little more harmony introduced with that. So that would be an excellent moment to have it compounded. And then it's really just about strings. We don't have any of the brass going. So we're allowing that to expand on the cello part. Maybe we'll have some other elements kind of adding to that. And the bridge is supposed to be simple, but we need more going on harmonically. Because we've already had the string drone and that little texture part stand out, so we don't really need to have that make a reappearance. It's just adding structure to that. Of course, I missed a little keystroke though. So this needs to be a little bigger. I like how it falls into place, but we just need something else to just kind of give it a more grandiose like appearance. And of course, that's when the synth's coming in, which is supposed to be like this big epic, like, oh my gosh moment. And it's a little more aggressive with each one. And of course, we missed the keystroke, so it's not playing it quite right. Then our verse 3 is a quicker swell in with his cellos. This is a return. Percussion's in. Let's just listen to the percussion for this, because I'm nervous about that gap. Seems to me that the sidechain kick could continue if nothing else. Let's go ahead and copy both of these over. Let's just see what we think about this. A little bit more of those 16th drums. Is our loudest one. Okay. And that's kind of where we are at. And I did bring down percussion just a little bit. I brought down the leads earlier. I am still peeking out the master, so we're going to have to work on that. I think with a little compression and in like the EQing, I think we're gonna clean up a lot of the extra sound there. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. We still have the sound effects track. We haven't really added any sound effects. I think that would be a good thing to do once we kind of like that would be like a good like cherry on top once we get all of the instrumental parts put together. We'll start going, okay, where do we want risers? What kind of stuff do we want? We really haven't gone into on this channel making risers from scratch. I'm just kind of using a lot of the battery risers, but that's just a neat little trick that's pretty easy with just basic synth stuff. That might be a good thing to play with, is just making some risers. But I think it's in pretty good shape. I don't think there's anything else at the top of my head that I want to touch. Let's just go ahead and play from the top and see if anything comes out for us here. A little weak. Now I'd like that to rise a little harder towards the end there. All right. Well, let's go ahead and give that a save. I appreciate you guys for watching. This has been a little bit, I think this has been a productive one. We got a lot of layers added on here. We still need to work on a couple of different things, like that outro needs a little bit more love, or the stinger needs a little more love. That last note is very brief, and it's not as satisfying as I'd like it to be. I think we will do a little volume automation on the drone and that texture as well, because I really want that texture to come out for that one part, and I want the drone to kind of drop off like the bridge and just let the cellos really set the scene and have that big synth over the top. So, but I appreciate everyone for watching. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know if there's anything I missed. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and subscribe if you'd like to see me more often. And yeah, it's been cool. See you tomorrow.